Hey, what's going on everyone? Back with another Elliott Wave analysis for Bitcoin. This video is going to be very important for those who would like to know my views on how the bull market will end. So I advise everyone to watch this video thoroughly to understand how I personally will see the bull market end. Of course, this is all going to be viewed through the eyes or lens of the Elliott Wave Theory. I'm not going to complicate it too much in terms of the Fibonacci and so forth. But starting off with the ultimate top-down view of where we stand in the markets, I think it's important to kind of recap where we stand. Bitcoin is currently sitting at a very pretty spot. The bulls have a significant purchasing power at the current time of recording as we are trading around 36% off of the lows, giving it a very solid protected bottom. The most important thing is that we are looking for a primary wave 5 or whatever degree that you may be looking at to the upside to ultimately end the bull market, in my opinion, around the $100,000 to the $130,000 levels. It's all going to be the same targets, in my opinion, around those levels, as we are pretty much at peak validation for how this fifth wave is going to be ending. Now, in terms of how this overall look from the low of 2022 is playing out, we're just looking for a 5-wave move. And for the longest time, we've been trying to figure out how this wave 1 has been playing out. And we do have pretty good significant data on how this wave 1 is now playing out, either as a diagonal or a possible nested structure. We just have to flip-flop back and forth with these two ideas. But the most important thing is that we have a delayed route where we're going to be looking for a wave 1 to pull back now, or we have that 1 to already complete of 1-2 here as a flat, and we're now looking for that expansion phase already to happen now sooner than later if we stay above this diagonal trend line. Now, the overall look of where we can be achieving it from the 2022 bottom is that we have a pretty good solid looking structure in a 1, 2, 3, 4, as we are looking for all the rules and guidelines to match and keep that evidence at bay as much as we can, and we have pretty much all the evidence that we can at this point. Anything lower than this level here, if we do make another low, I don't think that's going to be a wave 4 being where we have another support here and we move back up. I think that's going to be a big red flag if we do break these lows. But right now, for the time, I think that we are in a bullish state right now, that we're going to be looking for a fifth wave to the upside. Now, another additional thing is that we do have some guidelines applied in terms of the evidence. We have a 3-4 as a sharp structure where wave 1-2 is sideways. In the Elliott Wave Theory, if you have a sideways 1-2, you're looking for a sharp 3-4 to the downside. So we also have that achieved. I think that we're going to be looking for the fifth wave move to the upside now sooner than later. So that is how we're going to be achieving it. The bull market, in my opinion, is going to be ending around these levels. I don't know if you guys are seeing it $500,000. It's just not how I see it. I think that we're looking for some kind of conclusion of at least a 5-wave move to the upside before we get for a larger pullback. That's going to be a very great shorting opportunity, in my opinion. So if we go back to the shorter time frames and talk about those two scenarios, and there is an additional scenario that I'm going to be talking about how this bull market is going to end. Zooming into the local medium time frame structure for the next few days is going to be very, very important, as we are now pretty much at peak validation for our diagonal idea that we have been talking for the past month or so. It's, basically, we've been calling this diagonal perfectly. Now, this idea does have the overlapping possibility in terms of the price action with the mega bullish idea that I also mentioned of the expansion phase of where we're working in the extension of a wave 3 as we speak now, if this diagonal fails for the better. And I also discussed the idea in my previous video as well, where we were using Ethereum as a use case study as an example where the diagonal has failed back in the 2022 to the 2024 accumulation phase. We saw, or we identified, a larger diagonal, but it failed for the better. It didn't invalidate for the downside, but it invalidated to the upside, which was exactly what we were going to be expecting for Bitcoin as well. Now, this is also very possible if the bullish momentum continues for Bitcoin. But remember, past price action is not indicative of future price action. It is something to keep in mind, however, on when studying price action, as these different Elliott Wave patterns can be playing out for the better as well when you're talking about invalidations. Now that we're complete with the assumed diagonal, or we could be working for one more high for that diagonal where we do get another possible overshoot, but I would say it's probably best to say that this wave 5 has ended already and we're working for the ABC, but I am open to the possibility where we do have another WXY complex correction to the upside where we do another possible overshoot at that diagonal, and then we get a strong rejection, and then we come down for that corrective move as an ABC for that wave 2. Now, in my opinion, now that we are complete with the assumed diagonal, like I said, this leads finally into that possible primary wave 1 that internal degree wave 1 of the larger primary wave 5 that we have been looking for, where we are now looking for the wave 2 pullback, and then finally the expansion phase of that wave 3, 4, 5 respectively, that will conclude to what I believe will be the end of the bull market around the $100,000 to the $110,000 region, with of course some margin of error in mind. In my opinion, that is not too much to ask for, in my opinion, as that is already a handsome reward target for anyone who has accumulated well below $30,000. Congratulations to those who have bought early. That should be giving a ton of FOMO at these levels over here. And that will not only trap the late buyers, including your broke uncle and grandma who is buying Bitcoin at these extreme levels, but if we're going to learn a thing or two from the past bear market, this would be a great time to shuffle around your portfolio and kind of think about profit taking at those levels. Now, the diagonal, again, in characteristic fashion, is a slight overshoot with above the trend line, which we are currently observing. It goes beyond the boundary or the channel of the trend line that defines the diagonal pattern before returning back into the diagonal itself. That is our expectation. And whatever time frame that you may be on in relative terms, you may be on, and it often indicates a possible sharp reversal once the markets are ready to do so, and that is what we are expecting. Even though you're expecting a sharp reversal, it is still a very extremely bullish pattern, as it still signals the larger time frame trend reversal or continuation, as we are expecting this to be only the wave 1 or the beginning of a new impulse to the upside, and it marks the transition from a bearish sentiment to a bullish sentiment in the market. It's basically compressed energy where each wave contracts and overlaps, where buyers and sellers reach to a point of equilibrium, but the overall direction remains towards the upside. Now, as this is just one of the many primary scenarios, we do have a few more ideas to discuss. The second scenario is where we have a massive continuation to the upside, where we don't get that delayed 1-2 pullback for this wave 2 of the primary degree, where it may now be complete, and this wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 may be already in the works. The most important thing about this scenario is that as long as we stay above this trend line for the next week or so, I would say it's extremely bullish, and we can start assuming that we're going to be breaking all of these highs, and we're going to be attacking the all-time high, and we're going to be going for that wave 3, 4, 5. And again, this is all just based on the vertical and horizontal trend line resistances, and I think that we are eventually going to be breaking these, whether it's that delayed 1-2 or we're going to go for it now. So this idea is just working with the extreme bullish idea, same targets around there. We're going to be looking for around $100,000 to the $110,000 levels. So those two scenarios, ladies and gentlemen, is how I currently view the markets. As long as we stay above these levels here, I mean, of course, it's going to be a little bit troublesome once we start going back into these levels here if it's going to be in a very impulsive fashion where we make a sharp move now. But if it's a controlled fashion on a larger time frame, we are expecting, and I wouldn't be too surprised if we're going to be going for a pullback, as we are expecting that for the diagonal idea. Just keep in mind, it's whether we're going to have that delayed or we're going to have that continuation now. It's just those two ideas. I wouldn't be surprised with either or of these scenarios. But what if we do move up correctively, ladies and gentlemen? There is another possibility that we can be extending this diagonal even further, where we may be working in an ending diagonal where it doesn't go up all the way to the $100,000 levels, but it ends around these levels here. Now, remember, I did talk about we can learn from the past bear markets in terms of what kind of price action can be applied to the current time frames. Now, again, price action from the historical price action, rather, is not indicative of the current price action. But if we do look at the previous bull market, we did get an abrupt stop at these levels here once we did create a new all-time, and that is what led to the ultimate bear market. Now, what if that happens here as well? In my opinion, if we are going to be looking for any red flags and we move up correctively, then I'm going to be assuming that even though we do break this all-time high, I believe it's going to be a trap, and that still is leading us to around the $80,000 to the $90,000 levels, where this wave 5 can conclude earlier. So this is going to be the similar nature of 2021, where the bull market has ended earlier, where we just create a double top of some sort. And as you can see here, this is exactly how it ended back in 2021 and 2022. That led to the ultimate bear market. This is also in my mind as well, where we have that will be a technical top basically for a wave 5, because we are looking for a wave 5, and any technical top is going to be deemed as a completed move, right? So if we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and it ends in an ending diagonal, that is also a possibility. So what this means is every single scenario, even the bearish idea as we have here, could be leading us to higher levels, ultimately breaking the all-time high. But if we do find any red flags, if we're going to see this as a corrective move and we see this over here as the ending of the 2020 or 2024 to the 2025 bull market, this is also a very possible move that's going to be happening, and it should be on our radar definitely if this moves up correctively. So that is how I currently see the bull market ending, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be around anywhere from the $80,000 to the $130,000 levels. Every single scenario moves to the upside, in my opinion, as long as we have a protected low in bottom here, but a 36% move off the lows and a continuous break of these highs here on the local time frames is giving us an indication that we may be working for higher levels no matter what, even with a larger pullback of a diagonal idea. So hopefully that was helpful for the macro overview. We are going to be going over the shorter time frames and talk about the internal structures. I did upload that on Patreon today as well. So if you're not following me on Patreon and you're not a member there, all the links are in the description below, including the Discord membership. So please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you very much. I will see you guys in the next video, and trade safe. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic rest of the weekend. Bye-bye.